Recently, I made a video called Questions to Ask Before Committing, and after sharing it, I noticed something that really stayed with me. Someone commented that the person they are currently seeing doesn't meet any of the things I mentioned in that video. And honestly, I felt sad for them. But what really made me think about it is that this isn't something I have just heard from one person. I've also had other people reach out to me with concerns about their relationships, wondering whether their partner is really committed, whether they are the right person, or whether they are simply investing their time in a relationship that's not going anywhere. And if you're someone who has ever had those thoughts, I want you to know that you are not alone. This video isn't about one person's situation. It's about something I think many of us need to talk about. How do you avoid spending months or even years in a relationship that isn't right for you? Because here's the truth: time is one thing you can't get back. And sometimes we spend months or even years trying to make a relationship work with someone who was never really looking for the same things we were. Sometimes deep down, we already see the signs, but because we have feelings, we keep hoping things will change. So today I want to talk about something slightly different, not just what to look for in the right person, but how to stop wasting your time looking for the right relationship in the wrong places with the wrong people. Because finding the right person isn't only about knowing what you want, it's also about willing to walk away when you discover that someone wants something completely different. So let's talk about how to date more intentionally, recognize those differences early, and give yourself a better chance of finding someone who actually wants what you want. Number one, ask what they're looking for early. One of the things I believe you should find out when you meet someone is, what are you looking for? And I know that sounds very simple, but it can save you so much time, because not everybody who approaches you is looking for the same thing. Some people are looking for something casual. Some people are looking for something short term. Some people are looking for a one night stand. Some people don't want commitment at all. Some people want companionship, but they don't want marriage. Some people don't want children, and some people may want a relationship, but they don't necessarily want the kind of relationship that you're looking for. And none of those automatically make someone a bad person. People are allowed to want different things. The problem is when you want one thing, they want something completely different, and you continue hoping that eventually one of you will change. That's when you can lose a lot of time. So ask, what are you looking for? And don't be afraid. Answer the question yourself too, because it's not enough to know what the other person wants. You need to know what you want. Do you want something casual? Do you want a serious relationship? Are you dating with marriage in mind? Do you want children? What kind of values are important to you? What kind of future do you want? You don't have to have every detail of your life planned out, but you should know the general direction you're going. Because if you don't know what you're looking for, you can easily end up following somebody else's direction. And I personally learned this before I met my husband. I met people who were looking for things that were completely different from what I wanted, and I was honest about it. I would tell them essentially, that's not what I'm looking for, but I wish you the best in finding what you want. And then I moved on. I didn't spend months trying to convince them. I didn't think maybe they will change their mind. I didn't think maybe if they get to know me better, they will want the same thing. No. If we wanted different things, I respected their choice and I respected mine. So I blocked, deleted, and moved on. Not because those people were necessarily bad people, but because they weren't looking for what I was looking for. And eventually, I met someone who was looking for the same kind of relationship I was looking for. And that person became my husband. So ask the question early, because clarity at the beginning can save you months and sometimes even years of confusion. Number 2, when you see a major mismatch, don't ignore it. Here is where I think a lot of people get stuck. They notice something early. Maybe your values are different, maybe your goals are different, maybe you want marriage and they don't. Maybe you want children and they don't. Maybe you want commitment and they are telling you they are not ready. Maybe they don't treat people in a way that aligns with your values. And instead of taking that information seriously, you say, maybe it will get better. Maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe they will change. Let me just see where this goes. Now, I'm not saying that every little difference means you should immediately end a relationship. People are different. You don't need to find someone who agrees with you about everything. But there are certain differences that are too important to ignore. And when you discover a major difference in something that matters deeply to you, don't keep moving forward simply because you're already emotionally attached. Sometimes we don't have a problem with the information. We have a problem accepting what the information means. If someone tells you they don't want marriage and marriage is something you definitely want, you have information. If someone tells you they don't want children and having children is important to you, you have information. If someone tells you they aren't looking for commitment and commitment is exactly what you're looking for, you have information. You don't have to argue with information. You have to decide what you're going to do with it. And that's where self-respect comes in. Don't talk yourself out of what you already know. Number 3, choose from the people who choose you. Now, this next point is something I really want you to think about. Instead of constantly asking, how do I get this person to like me? Start asking, who already likes me? Who is interested in you? Who is making an effort? Who is showing consistency? Who actually wants to get to know you? Who is choosing you? Because I don't believe you should spend your life chasing someone who has actually shown you that they don't want the same thing. And I'm not saying that you should choose someone simply because they like you. No, you still need attraction. You still need compatibility. You still need shared values. You still need respect. But if someone genuinely likes you, respects you, wants the same kind of relationship, and is making an effort, at least you're choosing from a place of mutual interest. You're not trying to convince somebody to want you. And I think that's a much healthier place to start, because you don't want to spend your life trying to convince somebody to choose you. You don't want to constantly wonder, does this person even want me? Why am I always the one initiating? Why do I have to chase them? Why am I constantly trying to prove that I'm worth choosing? You shouldn't have to. And this is why I say choose from the people that choose you, because you don't want to build a marriage with somebody who feels like your enemy. You don't want to spend your life in a one-sided relationship. You want someone who is also saying, I choose you. Number 4, look at values, not just feelings. Now let's talk about something else that can save you a lot of time: values. Because sometimes we are so focused on how someone makes us feel that we forget to ask whether we actually fit together. You can be extremely attracted to someone. You can have amazing chemistry. You can talk for hours. You can laugh together. You can miss them when they are gone. You can feel excited every time you see their name on your phone. But attraction doesn't automatically mean compatibility. Ask yourself, do our values match? How do we view commitment? How do we view marriage? Do we want children? How do we view money? How do we handle disagreements? What role does family play in our lives? What kind of future do we want? What are our priorities? You don't have to be identical, but if the things that matter most to you are completely different, don't ignore that simply because you have chemistry. Because chemistry can bring two people together, but shared values help people build a life together. Number 5, watch their actions. Another way to avoid wasting time is to stop listening only to promises. Listen to the words, yes, but watch the actions. Someone can tell you, I really like you, I want a future with you, I'm serious about you, I'll change, I'll do better. And sometimes those words are genuine, but you still have to look at what happens afterwards. Do their actions match their words? Do they keep their promise? Do they communicate? Do they respect your boundaries? Do they make an effort? Do they take responsibility when they are wrong? Are they consistent? Because actions don't tell you everything about a person immediately, but patterns can tell you a lot. And this is why one of the questions from my previous video was, do their actions match their words? Because words are important, but behavior matters too. Don't build your entire future around promises that have never been supported by action. Number 6, don't date someone's potential. This one is especially important. Don't fall in love only with who someone could become. Look at what they are today. Sometimes we tell ourselves, once we're married, they will change. Once they realize how much I love them, they'll become more committed. Once we have children, they'll become responsible. Once we move in together, things will be different. But you have to ask, what evidence do I have that this person is actually going to change? Because potential is not the same as reality. You can encourage someone, you can support someone, people can grow, people can change, but you cannot build a healthy relationship on the assumption that someone will eventually become the person you need them to be. Look at who they are now. How do they treat you now? How do they communicate now? How do they handle conflict now? How responsible are they now? How committed are they now? Because when you're choosing someone to build a future with, you're not marrying their potential. You are building a life with the person who is actually standing in front of you. Number 7, don't stay just because you've already invested time. Now, this is another trap that keeps people in relationships that they already know aren't working. You say, but we've been together for 2 years. I've already introduced them to my family. We've already gone through so much. I've invested so much in this relationship. And because you've invested so much, you feel like you have to keep going. But I want you to ask yourself something. If I met this person today, knowing everything I know now, would I still choose this relationship? Think about that, because the time you've already spent is gone. You can't get those months or years back. And staying longer doesn't automatically make the relationship right. Sometimes you have to accept, I have invested time here, but this isn't where I want my life to go. And that's okay. The time wasn't necessarily wasted if you learned from it. Maybe you've discovered what you want. Maybe you discovered what you don't want. Maybe you grew. Maybe you became more confident about your values. But don't keep investing more time simply because you're afraid to admit that something isn't working. Number 8, don't be afraid to walk away from a mismatch. I think sometimes people are afraid to walk away because they think, what if I never find someone else? And the fear can keep you in situations you already know aren't right for you. But being single for a period of time is not worse than being in a relationship that constantly goes against what you want. You don't have to stay because someone is available. You don't have to stay because you're afraid of starting again. You don't have to stay because you're thinking, at least I have someone. Having someone isn't the goal. Having the right relationship is the goal. And someone doesn't have to be a bad person for you to know that they're not right for you. That's something I really want people to understand. You can say you're a good person, but we are not looking for the same thing, and walk away respectfully. Not every breakup needs a villain. Sometimes two people simply want different lives. Number 9, come back to the 5 questions. And this brings us back to the questions from my previous video. Once you've established that you're looking for the same kind of relationship, ask yourself, do I feel respected? Not only when they are happy with me, not only when things are going well, but consistently. Can I be myself around this person, or am I constantly changing myself, hiding parts of myself, or walking on eggshells? Do our values match? Not necessarily every opinion, but the values that matter for the life you're trying to build. Can we solve problems together, not avoid them, not blame each other, not insult each other? Can we actually sit down, communicate, and work through problems together? And finally, do their actions match their words? Because these questions can tell you a lot. And if you're looking at your relationship honestly and realizing that the answer to most of these questions is no, don't ignore that information. You don't have to panic. You don't have to make a decision because a woman on YouTube told you to, but you need to be honest with yourself. So to the person who left that comment on my previous video, and to everyone who has reached out to me with concerns about their relationships, I want you to know that realizing something isn't right isn't necessarily a failure. Sometimes it's clarity, and clarity can be the beginning of making a better decision. You don't have to hate your partner. You don't have to call them a bad person. You don't have to make them your enemy. But you do have to be honest about whether the relationship you're in is actually leading you toward the kind of life you want. So here is what I want you to remember. Ask what someone is looking for early. Don't be afraid to tell them what you're looking for too. Pay attention to major differences in values and goals. And don't ignore what you see simply because you have feelings. Watch actions, not just words. Don't fall in love with someone's potential while ignoring the reality. And finally, choose from the people who choose you. You don't have to convince someone to love you. You don't have to convince someone to commit to you. You don't have to spend years trying to become worthy in the eyes of someone who has already shown you that they don't want what you want. And remember, choosing someone who likes you isn't enough either. Choose someone who likes you, respects you, shares the values that matter to you, wants a similar future, communicates with you, and is willing to put in the work. Because the goal isn't simply to find someone. The goal is to find someone with whom you can build the kind of relationship and life you actually want. And sometimes finding that person requires you to stop wasting time with people who have already shown you that they aren't that person. So if you're dating right now, ask yourself, are we actually working toward the same future? Or am I simply hoping that one day this person will change direction? Because these are two different things and your time is valuable. Don't be afraid to protect it. If this video helped you, tell me in the comment section. What is one question you think everyone should ask before getting serious with someone? And if you haven't watched my previous video, questions to ask before committing, go watch that one next because it goes perfectly with what we've talked about today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.